What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. Initially, this was going to be a all-pro football versus Madden comparison. They generally get a ton of views. But what's interesting is, the more I sat here and tried to assess these games and how they play differently, the longer the video became, and the more you really saw that EA is just in a different world. Right? They're so far behind on details that you almost can't even make a fair comparison. And it should absolutely be the opposite. You should be looking at Madden currently, and it should just blow every single aspect of this game away. Yet, it's almost the complete opposite. When you look at these two plays, I think it's important to try to put yourself in the mindset of the last time you played Madden and ask yourself, on a successful run play like this, right, where there's no X Factor, there's no superstar mode, there's no special animations anyone's given, it's just X's and O's, it's football. It's a well-blocked play. It's actually a great defensive play as well. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But when do you see these types of interactions in Madden? Because unless you're going to sit there and go back and go through a replay and break things down, a lot of this goes unnoticed. So when you look at this play conclude here, the first thing I want to talk about is these two linebackers. Because from an awareness standpoint, one goes inside, one goes outside. But they both come back to the play, and that's really important. You take a look at lead blocking. Going up and picking somebody else up, great double team block. Again, that player that ran through the gap is going to run back out. Now they're going to pursue to the ball carrier. I've got linemen out in front. They're going to go block safeties. That's what you want to see. I also love this hurdle right here. Because that hurdle, as everyone runs to the same point, matters. It slows the progress. I wish the block up there could have been better. He kind of pulls back when he can't get to the safety, but it ends the play. Right? He wasn't going to get to the safety. Afterwards, the lineman then comes over and kind of grabs the halfback and shakes him. That's a big play celebration that looks normal. That's what you want to see. The game knows it's a big play. Let's look at a bad play, though. Because defensively, a lot of the key elements are still there. This play, I firmly believe, could not be actually replicated in Madden. There's too many little things and interactions Madden just does not have that make this a successful play for the defense. And it actually doesn't even start with that defensive tackle. It starts with personnel. It starts with Pete Metzelaars, who's actually out at the tight end position. And you've got a player that can't block two players. That's all there is to it. So they're going to attack him inside and outside, and then you're going to have the lineman pull over. And whether it's fatigue, whether it's they're just not good players, they really can't make the job happen. And then you've got a triangle of defenders here, and you can see the halfback's going to go over, try to cut back. He actually does pick up two blocks, but it actually is just too much pursuit down to the ball carrier, too much stopped momentum in a situation where everyone converges on the ball carrier. The same way I just showed you, they all converge to a point upfield where they cut the ball carrier off, trying to run down the field to score a touchdown. So it's not just the things that make the good play successful not being executed. It's the same football principles. It's just who had better players, who had a better scheme. Pete Metzelaars is a great receiving tight end. The problem is when you get any tight end out on the edge and you're asking him, block a lineman, block a defensive end, block a corner, block a linebacker, at minimum, block two people. There's going to be a problem. When you go back to Madden, how many times have we seen where you have a position that has to block someone and they can't target either player? So they let both of them go. Or they only block the least important one. When was the last time in Madden you saw a lineman pull like that and end up blocking not one but two players based on the halfback movement? Those are things that you just can't compare in Madden. You're going to play Madden, honestly, for 10 to 15 of the same play before you see an interaction like that. This came on the first drive of the game. Right? That matters when we talk about the context of a good football game. Now, when we talk about what hurts Madden, to me, is when you watch those clips, sure, maybe the gang tackle interaction looked like a animation-based tackle of branched animations, but so much of it just looked like smooth football. And that's where EA has really lost itself. Everything is an animation. And even though they have quality animations, it's the blending of those animations and the number of the animations that become a problem. You don't have the visually smooth look because you have so many animations just playing over and over and over. And just like when you would edit a video to go from one segment to the next, the game is editing the player to go from one animation to the next. And I think one of the underlying problems that this has brought on is the lack of user control. And I think when you talk about the lack of user control, you can look no further to Superstar and X Factor abilities. Because what they're doing is they're controlling the animation that the player is given or that the player has to combat against. Now, you can say in the past, when you looked at maybe the hit stick, there was a time where that was a beneficial thing. You're coming down to tackle the ball carrier. You as the user can control what type of tackle you would like. And then from there, you would have a risk versus reward. Currently in Madden, so much of the risk has been left unbalanced. You have the reward of getting the interception, deflecting the pass, because you go into animations that are unbranchable. This is why you see players catching the ball through each other. This is why you see players running into each other when they do go out to try to lead block. You know, I've got a Madden video that shows two linemen pulling, and they're pulling so close together, they're running on top of each other. And then they get out into the open field, and they don't know what to do, so one of them turns around. You know, in neither one of these plays, whether it was a successful run or an unsuccessful run, did you see the lineman turn back around and look at the halfback? Yet I challenge anyone to go into Madden and have an actual defense in front of you, not an open practice, and run 10, 15 plays and tell me you don't see a handful where the linemen turn around. So to go back to the original point when I talked about, it's almost like two different games. There is definitely a programming logic in Madden that reads when you're a pulling lineman or fullback and you get out to the second level and there's no player within 10 yards, turn around. Run back toward the halfback. For what? There's nothing to do. There definitely is a coding error in Madden where when you have one player that needs to block more than one player, they don't know who to block and sometimes let both players by. So trying to compare them becomes almost paralyzing because you're analyzing so many different aspects of each game and they're just handled so differently. The only answer to fixing this, in my opinion, is to get rid of or vastly extend the animation library. And that's something EA has really just not done. You know, and that's what makes videos like the one I did earlier so much more disheartening. You know, I don't know how much time it takes to put an NBA player into Madden. I assume that it does take more than just entering a character. I'm sure there's licensing agreements, there's details that have to be worked out, and for all we know, it could be something that goes back and forth in terms of a collaboration between the athletes, the brands, and the leagues. But it doesn't change the fact that the product that Madden currently has on our game consoles is subpar, even to a game like this that's years, over a decade old. And their focus continues to be in all the wrong places, in my opinion. Talked about early, when you segment gamers, when you put gamers in boxes, you're a competitive gamer, you're a sim gamer, you're an arcade gamer. Well, if that's the case, why can't we sit and look at gameplay, just raw gameplay, and determine which game mode is which? If you sat down and watched the drive of arcade Madden versus competitive Madden versus simulation Madden, can you honestly tell the difference? I mean, I basically, for a living at this point almost, sit here and break down Madden, and I can't tell you what the differences would be. I think it just comes down to the percentage of big plays. I'm not sure. But I do know Madden is not on the level that I just showed you in those plays, whether they're positive or whether they're negative. Love to know what you guys think about this. Appreciate you checking it out. And I have a ton of videos coming up for you. If you didn't realize, the Telestrator here, I've went through and taken some classes, and I've learned to use it much better because of the support you guys and all my Patreon followers give me on the channel. Appreciate you checking this out, and you know I will be back in the week with more commentary.